40 a.m. There's a quorum of the board is present. State Board of Education scheduled for January 13th, 2026 is called to order. Want to welcome everyone. I hope everyone has a great year in 26 and a new year and you enjoyed the holiday with your families and loved ones. On a not so positive note, I just want to, we had the passing of Randy Riley, a state librarian. Our thoughts are with him and his family, his prayers. We were at a memorial service, several of us on Friday. I enjoyed the fact that I got to go into his office and see his personality. So it was jam-packed in there. They had 2 overflow rooms. So I'd like to observe a moment of silence in his honor, please. Thank you, everyone. I'd also take a moment to, it's Board Appreciation Month, so I want to recognize our outstanding board. This is my second meeting. It's been great working with all of you. We've had a lot of individual meetings, getting to know each other, and I appreciate that. They're very helpful to me and appreciate your leadership on the board. So I just wanted to mention a few things about each their terms. Dr. Pam Pugh for 11 years. Ms. Ellen Lipton, 5 years of service. Ms. Tiffany Tilley, 7 years. Dr. Judy Pritchett, 7 years. Dr. Mitch Robinson, 3 years. Mr. Marshall Bullock, who will not be here today, he's 3 years. Mr. Tom McMillan, 9 years. And Ms. Nikki Schneider, 9 years. I want to thank you for your service. I really look forward to working with all of you. There are some certificates that you're to recognize each of you. I also just want to say for the public, I think a lot of times the public feels like, the board members are full-time jobs and they're, get large salaries and things, and you don't. You dedicate your time and you're volunteering. You get a small stipend that doesn't cover for all the work you do, on top of the fact that you all have jobs that you do. So I just want to say I appreciate your dedication to the students of Michigan. Thank you. If we can give them a big round of applause. I also just want to mention that I know it's been talked about before, and I did email the board later last night, and I've been talking to Dr. Pugh and Mr. McMillan. So when you interviewed me for the board, one of the things I'm passionate about, and I know we all are, is special education students. And so our team has been in discussions about bringing a potential presentation here about the work that we need to do, both the strengths and areas that we can improve. So I look forward to future dialogue with the board. I've talked to Dr. Pugh, Mr. McMillan, and I think some of us in the individual meetings have had discussion. So we'll likely have that as I get into my learning, and we know we have a new deputy coming on board through the hiring process. So we'll probably go into the spring, need a little bit of time, but that our team knows, and we are looking forward to bringing that presentation to the board for improvement. So I just wanted to mention that as well. And I appreciate the dialogue that we've had on that issue. The first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda in order of priority. Are there any items that board members would like to add or delete from today's agenda? Ms.
I
Tilley?
would like to make a motion to add 2 resolutions. The first resolution is honoring Michelle Harmala.
Any support?
Support.
Dr. Pritchett? Any discussion? Ms. Evans?
Lipton,
Yes.
McMillan,
Pass.
Pritchett,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
and Tilly.
Yes.
Motion carries.
The second is a resolution honoring the state librarian, Randy Riley.
Thank you. Is there any support for that? Dr. Pugh? Any discussion? Ms. Evans, please take the vote.
Lipton,
Yes.
McMillan,
Yes.
Pritchett,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
and Tilly.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Anyone else? Dr. Pugh?
I move that we place on the agenda a Michigan State Board of Education resolution supporting student safety, human dignity, and humane immigration practices.
Thank you. Any support? Dr. Robinson? Any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Evans for the vote, please.
Lipton,
Yes.
McMillan,
No.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Pugh?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Snyder?
No.
And Tilly?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Any other items? Seeing none, Dr.
I was
Pugh?
gonna move that we,
With
the agenda.
the agenda,
Yes.
amended agenda?
Yes.
Okay, Dr. Pugh, any support for that to approve the, Ms. Lipton, thank you. Any discussion? No? Ms. Evans?
Lipton?
Yes.
McMillan?
Pass.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Pugh?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Snyder?
No.
And Tilly?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. At this time, Ms. Evans, State Board Executive, will introduce the members of the State Board of Education.
Good morning. You have just been listening to Dr. Glenn Maleko, Chairperson of the State Board and State Superintendent. To his left around the table is Board President Dr. Pamela Pugh from Saginaw, Board Co-Vice President Ms. Ellen Cogan-Lipton from Huntington Woods, NASB Delegate Dr. Mitchell Robinson from Okemos, Ms. Nikki Snyder, Mr. Corey Rosser, the 25-26 Michigan Teacher of the Year, and Ms. Emma Young, the Deputy Director of Public Policy in the Governor's Office and ex officio to the State Board. Now seated to my right is Mr. Tom McMillan from Oakland Township, Board Co-Vice President Ms. Tiffany Tilley from West Bloomfield, and Board Secretary Dr. Judith Pritchett from Washington Township.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Instruction for public participation. The public may register to provide comment during the public participation portion of the meeting at approximately 1 p.m. Those wishing to make a public comment must register prior to 1 p.m. To provide a public comment by telephone, please complete the registration form on the MDE page, michigan.gov/MDE. To provide public comment in person, please scan the QR located on the stand outside the boardroom and complete the registration form. These instructions are also listed on the MDE webpage. Thank you. Under discussion items, we're going to move forward. The first item on the agenda is a presentation, literacy updates on PA 146, 147, 35M, 35N. This presentation will provide updates that are aligned to Goal 2 of Michigan's strategic plan, improve early literacy achievement. We welcome our presenters, Dr. Delsa Chapman, Deputy Superintendent, Division of Assessment, School Improvement, and System Support, Dr. Jen Saylor, Interim Director, Office of Curriculum Instruction, Denisha Rowell Smith, Manager, Literacy Unit, Office of Curriculum Instruction, Bill Crane, Superintendent, Kent City Community Schools, Julie Scott, Principal, Kent City Elementary, and Kathy Arlen, Literacy Coach, Kent City Elementary School. As our presenters are coming to the table, I'm also happy to share that MDE's new Office of Curriculum Instruction was formally opened last week under the leadership of Interim Office Director Dr. Jennifer Saylor. Congratulations. This office includes the Literacy Unit and the Education Experiences Unit that were previously housed in the Office of Educational Supports. With the continued focus on literacy supports and the work being done to support mathematics, science, social studies, and other instructional practices by the Education Unit. We felt that it made sense to split the work, and I thank Dr. Chapman, Dr. Carnell, OES Director Dr. Edwards, along with Dr. Saylor. So I'll hand it over to them. Thank you for being here this morning on a very important topic.
Yes. Greetings, Dr. Maleko and board members. Happy New Year to each of you. Today we have a presentation on literacy updates from the new Office of Curriculum and Instruction's Literacy Unit. The Michigan Top 10 Strategic Education Plan outlines 8 goals, as you see here on the screen, that when implemented successfully will support learning and impact life outcomes for learners across our great state. Goal number 2, highlighted here, improve early literacy achievement, is a key goal in helping us realize our vision for all Michigan learners, that they will have an inspiring, engaging learning environment which fosters creative and critical thinkers who believe in and can live into the fullest of their potential. The Office of Curriculum and Instruction's Literacy Unit has intentionally focused its work efforts on this goal, Goal 2, by providing technical assistance and professional growth opportunities for Michigan educators. That includes both teachers and leaders, to increase, enhance, and support their readiness and ability to develop and maintain academic learning spaces and activities that focus on addressing the comprehensive literacy learning needs of our youngest students. And now I will turn the presentation over to Dr. Saylor, who will share more about the purpose of today's presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Chapman, and good morning, board members. Dr. Maleko. The purpose of our presentation today is to provide the board with an update on current statewide efforts to support and move forward Michigan's strategic education plan goals. During today's presentation, we will share updates on the K-12 literacy and dyslexia law, valid and reliable screening and progress monitoring assessment lists, the evidence-based Tier 1 class-wide elementary curricula list, and high-quality literacy materials instructional grant, or Section 35M, and the Reading Excellence and Advancing District Innovation Grant, or the READ Grant, 35N. And we'll also conclude with the presentation from a district spotlight on letters implementation from Kent City Schools. The slide you see here is a very familiar slide. We've pulled it up quite a few times, and you've seen it in previous presentations. But the image you see is a timeline of important dates and responsibilities for Public Act 146, the K-12 Literacy and Dyslexia Law, and Section 35M. We're resharing this image to direct your attention to where we are in the implementation of the law, indicated by the "We Are Here" call-out bubble in the January-March section of the 25-26 school year segment. As of now, the department continues to meet all legislative requirements of PA 146. This includes the recently published list of curriculum and assessments, which we will focus on the upcoming slides. The information on this slide indicates specific curriculum and assessment list requirements for which MDE is responsible. Per legislation, the department was required to post both lists by January 1st, 2026. Through the work of the review teams that included members of the MDE Committee for Literacy Achievement, MDE staff members, and my MTSS TA Center staff, both lists were published on December 18th of 2025 in advance of the legislated timeline. At this time now, I'll turn it over to Mrs. Denisha Rowell-Smith, our Literacy Unit Manager, for additional details.
Thank you, Dr. Saylor. Thank you, Dr. Saylor. Good morning, Dr. Maleko. Good morning, board. We're happy to be in space with you today. As Dr. Saylor already stated, on December 18, 2025, the Michigan Department of Education published the Valid and Reliable Screening and Progress Monitoring Assessment List, as well as the evidence-based Tier 1 class-wide elementary reading curricula list. Both lists are published on the K-12 literacy web page, and each list contains consensus documents where you can review what the team reviewed. So you can look at their scores and how each approved item was scored and is considered in alignment with the K-12 literacy and dyslexia law. In January, so we're here, just later on this week, we will open another request for submissions. It will remain open until September of 2026. And during that time frame, the assessment review team will come together to review any submissions that we receive. If you take a look at the slide, you'll see some evaluation points throughout the year. So for example, items submitted by January 30th will be reviewed by the assessment review team, and then the list will be updated in March. And so that's the cadence of that chart that you see. The Tier 1 class-wide elementary reading curricula was evaluated by the Curriculum Materials Review Team. That team was made up of members from the Committee for Literacy Achievement, so literacy experts, researchers, you had college professors on that committee, as well as K-12 educators and early childhood educators. In addition, we also have members of the literacy unit, our literacy consultants, as well as employees from the My MTSS TA Center that were a part of that review team. At the conclusion of the evaluation process, MDE approved 3 evidence-based Tier 1 class-wide elementary reading curricula. Those 3 were joined with the 11 from the Section 35M rankings list, if you all remember that grant. And so together we have 14 reading, Tier 1 reading items on our approved K through 12 literacy and dyslexia list that's published on our website. In March of this year, MDE will open another evidence-based Tier 1 class-wide elementary reading curricula request for submissions. It will remain open until September of 2026, and according to the chart on the screen, you'll see that we will have 2 review cycles where that list will be updated. And just as a reminder, districts are required by August of 2027 to choose a new curriculum that is aligned with the science of reading, that embraces structured literacy. And so they may use any of the items on the list that we have shared on our website, or a curriculum that is aligned with the K through 12 literacy and dyslexia laws. In particular, they must be careful to consider Section 23C of the law, which really informs districts that you can't use curriculum that allows you to guess when you're trying to decode a word. You can only use a curriculum that teaches children to recognize letters and sound relationship when they're decoding. I should also mention that when we say Tier 1, we're referring to a curriculum that can be used with most of the children in your classroom, that they will benefit from that instruction. This is all of the children in your classroom receive this type of instruction, and that is the curricula that we've published on our website that meets that requirement. And I'll turn it back over to Dr. Saylor to discuss some of our literacy grants.
Thank you, Denisha. We'll shift to a brief update on Section 35M. As you might recall, we received 561 applications for 35M funding. And of those grantees, we had 368 applicants request funding for the Tier 1 curriculum that Mrs. Ross-Smith was just referencing. 64 requested funding for interventions, and 121 districts requested funding for professional development. So at this time, districts are currently submitting budgets to MDE through the Nexus system, and they are submitting those on a rolling monthly basis. And that was in response to district requests that rather than have everything come due at one time, they can submit on their pace. So they're currently submitting their budgets. So as of right now, the department has approved 404 of the 561 budgets that were submitted. And the bulk of those so far came in October, but then as I mentioned, they're rolling in over the months since. And for an update on the Section 35N Read Innovation Grant, we have shared previously that 39 applicants are going to advance to the next phase of the competition. And this month, 39 districts will be required to submit reports as part of the competition. The department has provided technical assistance to those districts to help them meet the requirements of those reports. And so then that concludes our portion of updates on literacy updates for today's presentation, but now we're going to hand it over to the district leaders of Kent City Schools to share a bit more about their literacy implementation. And it should be noted that Kent City Schools they have a strong commitment to letters implementation and a strong professional development system. So please welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation to be here to present what we do at Kent City Elementary when it comes to letters implementation. My name is Julie Scott, and I am the principal of the elementary school. We serve about 600 students in my school. Our district has 1,240 students district-wide. I'm here with Kathy Arlen, who is our literacy coach, and Bill Crane, our superintendent, is in the audience. Kathy is going to be talking a little bit about our values and our mission and our belief before we start, because this does tie into our letters journey and is the foundation for what we are doing in our district to ensure that this isn't a one and done PD.
Thank you for having us. We are thrilled to be here representing a small school district, so we're so pleased to be here to share with you today. Kent City really is founded and grounded in our values that you see listed on the screen. And the value that we really hold true to is a growth mindset, not only for the leaders in our building, but for our teachers. So they're continuously growing their knowledge, their pedagogy, of best practices in literacy instruction. So as a district, that is a grounded, foundational piece that leads us in the decisions that we make at the building level.
And thank you. So what you see on the screen here is a professional learning system that our building leadership team designed. We decided that we needed to make sure that all of the professional learning delivery systems that we had in the building were aligned and were speaking the same language. We know that our teachers learn best when they have an opportunity to study the theory deeply, but then also have opportunity to practice and receive feedback. And we have an infinite amount of ideas, but a limited amount of professional development time. So it was important to us that we were aligning our professional learning so that we were speaking common languages and we were digging deeper and deeper into the work. When we specifically looked at what we were going to be doing in the area of literacy, we decided that we wanted to found our work or ground our work in two main documents that were provided to us. One was the Literacy Essentials, which was work that really spoke to how our instructional models for literacy were going to operate in our building. The second was Letters, which really spoke to how we were going to deliver professional development around the science of reading to our teachers. So when we look at the different areas that we have to professionally develop our staff, we made sure that our early release professional development was grounded in that work. We had teacher learning cycles, which are very deep level learning labs where they have an opportunity to teach and provide feedback to one another and go into classrooms. Our grade level meetings, our building teams, our instructional collaboration groups that we have going, and then finally our coaching, we're all speaking the language of letters. Currently, over half of our teachers have been trained in Letters, but it's a deeply, deeply understood level of training, and not just doing the modules and being done with it and never really hearing about it again. So, Kathy, would you like to talk a little bit more about what that theory to practice looks like?
Thanks, Julie. So as we have had teachers begin the journey of their Letters instructional practices in the classroom, those practices are ongoing and supported so that teachers work together, and if they have a colleague that has also gone through the training, they can work alongside each other and continue to grow what they've learned in the Letters training. So it's really important to have a building-wide initiative, but that initiative in our building grew from the teachers. It wasn't top-down. It was one of those, they built from the ground up, let's say, and one teacher, two teachers started, and they started to talk to each other, and they were building in their confidence in what they were teaching their students. They were seeing their data change with their students. They were seeing the students learning and growing faster. And that excitement started to grow in our building. So more and more teachers started to wonder, what is it that you are taking? What are you learning about? I want to be a part of that. And so that is how it grew in our building, was really grassroots. It wasn't something that was top down. We really feel like, and you'll see on the screen on the right there, we really feel the importance of, you have to know, learn, which is the Letters training, but then you have to come back and apply it and do it. And that can only be effective if you have ongoing coaching and support to be able to make that happen. So it's all of it working together. It's that that foundation is Letters, but it's the other pieces that also. And that last bubble is becoming. When you have all of that and you are confident and you have the knowledge, it's just what you do. It's who you are. And so that's where we want our teachers to to get to everyone to be at that place. And so that's an exciting journey for us.
So we have a couple of clips of our teachers putting the letters training into practice. Letters isn't a curriculum, so it's important to understand that letters needs to be a way that you are as a teacher. You need to understand this information at a deep level so that you can, so to speak, shoot from the hip while you're there teaching. You can be sure to apply what you see immediately when you see the need. So I have a couple of teacher clips. Our first teacher clip is what this looks like applied with our curriculum in a kindergarten classroom. Miss Heather Carlson is a practice leader, and she's an example of how letters is embedded in this curriculum. Here she's going to be applying a few strategies around sound walls and articulation to teach her students. So if you can play the clip.
Right? I agree. Nice job. And I said and. Nice job. Okay, let's read my sentence. Animals come in different. Ooh, that's a long word. Okay, what do I do when I have a long word? Syllables. Okay, ready? I'm gonna do the syllables for different. Ready? I have diff, fur, et. Ready? Diff, fur, et. What's my first different? It sounds a little different when you say it, but when you think about the syllables for how to write it, it's diff, fur, et. What's my first syllable? Diff. Tap out diff. In. Diff. That's one that you should be able to get. Those are all regular sounds. Okay, watch me. Do you think I can fit diff right here? So what should I do? Return sweet. Here I go. No. Oh, I see hands up. That must mean I made a mistake. Leland, what's wrong?
The next slide.
Right? I agree.
So
Best.
Well, and our next example is an example of a third grade teacher, Miss Sarah Shute, who has gone through the letters training for the elementary as well as the pre-K letters training, as well as she's gone through Orton Gillingham. And so she has a lot of knowledge that which she can grab from, as Julie was saying, it's when you can see a teacher that has all of that knowledge who within any curricular resource that you are using can pull out what is needed to advance student learning. So you'll see her with her third grade classroom doing text-driven comprehension and the reading writing connection with students. You'll see her doing an interactive writing with them where they're co-constructing after having read the BFG together, part of it. And so now they're having classroom discussion and creating a written response to that together. So that's what you'll see in this clip.
Fist. I thought you were gonna boil me. Yeah, remember he said, I think he might boil me for breakfast. Or eat me raw. But, ooh, she used that linking word. What linking word did she use? But. Why did she choose but? First, I saw the BFG. I was scared he was going to eat me. Why did she use the linking word but? Why did she use that linking word? Why did she choose but? Why didn't she say and? Yeah, she's comparing how she felt about him at first to now how she feels about him after or now. Are those feelings the same? When she compared them, are they the same or are they different? Different. So we'd use the word but because we're comparing this part of the sentence, the first part of our sentence. She was scared. The second part of our sentence is she's excited or happy, so we can use what linking word? But.
So that's just a little snapshot of what letters looks like in our school. By following the lead of our outstanding teacher staff, letters has grown from just a small pocket of teachers who were doing the work to over half of our staff being trained. The other important thing to note is that it's over 150 hours that teachers are dedicating to this training. And we just launched another invitation to see if staff were interested in joining the rest of their cohort. And we're already starting to get a lot of interest. So I really appreciate the opportunity to show you how we have participated in sustained continuous growth using the letters training.
This concludes our presentation on our literacy update internally from MDE, as well as our guests from Kent City. So back to you, Dr. Maleko.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the high-quality presentation and the work, and we're going to be talking. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Ms. Evans. A reminder, just like muting when you're on the Zooms and things. We're going to be talking later, too, about the MDE priorities, so this is a very timely presentation. I'd open it up if any board members have any questions, comments. Ms. Lipton?
Thank you, Dr. Maleko. First of all, thank you so much for this presentation. I think that it really highlights the commitment, the investment in high quality literacy instruction, but also the commitment and time that it takes from our educators. I mean, 150 hours, that's real time to spend in investing in your practice. In terms of the desire to have as many of your teachers engage in the training, what experience are you having in terms of the potential obstacles that an educator might face in terms of sort of embarking on that journey? Because I assume that once you start, you sort of have to stay on it as opposed to stopping and starting and stopping and starting, I'm guessing. So what is your experience in terms of sort of understanding what those obstacles might be, and how might they be addressed?
You're correct about that. A lot of our teachers, they're all in different phases of their lives, right? We have some young teachers who have young children at home. We have other teachers who are nearing the end of their career, and then those in between. So I think it's a little bit on an individual basis. When I talk with younger teachers, I mean, you do have to meet them where they are and kind of explain to them the beauty of the letters training is it is self-paced. So you can choose, there's a numerous amount of times you can attend the Zoom professional learning, which is required just for each unit once. And the rest is self-paced, but there's lots of choice. So I think that alleviates some of the stress for some people. Just yesterday, like Julie said, I had 3 teachers reach out to me about being interested in beginning the new cohort, which begins this summer. And so they were like, I have summer trips, scheduled. Is that going to? And my answer to that was no, because you can select self-pace, however long it takes you to finish it. So that is helpful. It's definitely, a commitment that you have to make. I think what teachers are seeing from other teachers is that the knowledge that they have compared to maybe what they lack, and that alone, they want to do best for their students, to be honest with you. And so they're willing to do what they need to do to make that happen.
Another barrier that I think that teachers have internalized in the years, especially if they're a teacher who's been in the career for a long time, is this just going to be another thing? Is this going to be something that I'm going to spend a lot of investment of my time in, and and I'm going to be asked to do another thing here, mandated through whatever means, and it's important to build a system that is evidence of the trust that this is something that we're going to stick with. And so that's why we did lead with showing you our professional learning system. And we make sure and embed this into each one of our professional developments that we have in some way, shape, or form, so that teachers are coming to understand and realize that this is the language that we're going to use. This is the structures that we're going to be supporting you to learn, and making sure that we have our coaching in place so that they can have that individualized touch that our teachers need, I think is very important.
Dr. Robinson?
First of all, thank you. This is a great presentation, and I love seeing actual classroom teaching in front of us. We talk in abstracts so often, and this is a specific, tangible thing. So thank you for forwarding what teachers are doing in the classroom. One of the things we know about professional development is that the common model, which is kind of the one-shot deal, you go to a conference on the weekend, usually somewhere warm when it's cold here or whatever, and then bring back all these wonderful ideas, it doesn't stick. It's not sticky. And I really appreciated your comment about teachers are worried. Is this going to be just one more thing? We've seen this before. Why are we doing it now? Is it going to be followed up on? So I think, what we know is that consistent and sustained professional development, ideally done not individually, like you go to this conference, we're all doing it together, and done in the building where we're actually going to apply it, is the most useful and most meaningful kind. So I really appreciate that that's what's happening here. I am still confused why we're making this sort of high-quality professional development into a competition. And I was struck with your mission statement on one of the first slides, which was the exact antithesis of making professional development a competition, which was about everyone should be benefiting from this. My worry is that we already have, in many places, not just in Michigan, but nationally, haves and have-nots in the educational world, right? And my worry is that competition really just kind of doubles down on the haves and have-nots. So I'm glad that this is happening in your district and in your buildings. I'm still not convinced that turning it into a competition at the state level is the right way to do this. And that's not a question for you, because I like what we're seeing here, and it is a question for us as a board and for the department and for schools in general. Why are we making this into like a Hunger Games type thing instead of a rising tide lifts all ships? So.
Snyder? Thank you, Dr. Robinson.
I have a few things, but Mitch brings up a great point, so I just want to dig into the word competition, because I think that's the first time I've heard us say it's a competition. We've given several presentations, but this is like the first time I've heard this is a competition. So can you help me to understand why we're using that word? Is there something in the statute that makes us feel like it's a competition, or just it would be helpful?
You're speaking about Section 35N?
Yeah.
Yes, it is a competition.
And
The
that statute states that it's a competition.
Yes, it does.
And how does it ask you to carry out that competition?
There are rounds. So we had started out with individuals applying with their innovative idea for literacy. And then that was evaluated by the Section 35N committee, which was a part of the Committee for Literacy Achievement that we've reported on before. That committee reviewed those applications, and then the first round of funding was provided to those successful entries.
Okay, and the innovative approaches were rooted in curriculum that they developed, or that they looked into the science of reading and
it must
presented
be aligned
their
with the science
concept of
reading.
this
Yes.
is our innovative approach, and we're calling it innovative because it's different than what we're doing right now, right?
Correct. That was one of the requirements. The criteria included that it needed to be aligned with the science of reading, and different districts went about it in a variety of ways. But there was a criteria that they had to meet in order to be considered for round one. Okay. And then there are additional rounds. So they're in the reporting phase right now, where they're reporting on how their innovation has increased academic achievement.
Okay. So there's a sense that competition is being used to ensure that the government or at the state level isn't saying, this is the product we're going to use, this is the approach we're going to use, and you're all going to do it, period. They're using competition in the sense of these are innovative approaches that are rooted in evidence, and local districts have local control to make the decisions that are best for them. I want to make sure that, because where I would definitely get on board is this sense of these funds are available in a competitive manner versus this is a competition of innovative approaches using evidence-based practice in phonics, and that's what will move us forward in reading in Michigan. That's what I'm hearing you say, right?
That's the spirit of Section 35N.
Okay, that's,
And ultimately, we'll do a report, the department will, that will go
Okay.
back to our lawmakers, and that information will be shared broadly.
Yeah.
Like the final paragraph of that statute indicates that the intent is to provide ideas and resources for
Yeah.
innovation and literacy.
okay, that's less Hunger Games, so I hope that cleared it up a little bit, but, because that's, I mean, I think that's the unimportant part, to make sure that, districts and parents don't feel like that's the state they're living in. Okay, a few things. Can you help me define the need? We talked about, if you look at the timeline here of 146 and 35M, that we started out with high-quality materials. And that was what the committee work was. We just talked a little bit more about that. Do we have, does MDE have an audit of all districts in the state of Michigan? And if you can, it's changed over the 9 years I've been serving. How many districts do we currently have now in the state of Michigan that qualify for these funds?
It's around 871, I believe, if I'm correct.
71 districts? Okay.
And 569 applied for this grant.
Okay, 569. So do we have a sense of even of the whole 871 districts that we have, those that are currently using curriculum in their own innovative way that is on the recommended list from the committee? Do we have a sense of like how many are using it and how many are not using it, like a number? Sorry, thank you for your presentation. We'll get there. There's other questions I want to make sure I understand and how I can
You're fine.
integrate both parts.
You can go ahead.
Well, we can say, we know for sure that the districts who selected that from the tier one list, so we know it was, I believe the number was 378. So we know that for sure, that they selected those. But then there's also been reporting around over 400 different curriculum previously. So I think the report was, yeah, so it's a large variety. And Ms. Snyder, if I may just, yeah, so this is all, they're all selecting from that list. So 378 from the 35M grant.
So we've got roughly 378, so roughly most of them, most districts are using a curriculum in their own right, in their own innovative way, in a local way to improve literacy in Michigan. That's really positive. Then I guess the next question I have is capacity of pipeline, since we're headed into the direction of, literacy coach models and how we're going to encourage literacy coaching models to pair with the curriculum that we know is evidence-based, right, that local districts have chosen. I've looked a lot into the requirements of becoming a literacy coach or a reading specialist. Where are we at with the idea of how many literacy coaches and reading specialists would we need statewide to make growth happen for districts now that we've got high-quality materials and we need that literacy coaching model aspect? What are the next steps in determining the numbers around how many do we need? Do we have the capacity within our pipeline to meet that need? And what are the other needs around ensuring that happens?
I think the answer to your question is maybe threefold, maybe twofold. Let's start with number one. We have a grant in place right now that the department manages that allows each intermediate school district to have 2 literacy coaches. So that's already at play. In addition to that, and on our timeline, you'll notice that the Michigan Department of Education will work on establishing a coaching model that extends beyond the K-3 that we currently see in the state to include grades 4 through 12. And so that is the next phase of that timeline that you see there. In addition to that, we're working on, we've developed a professional learning resource that will be published later this week that will help coaches, educators, and leaders in regard to the specific content they should be delivering to educators. So we're looking through the human capital that we need. We're leveraging Section 35A4, our coaching grant, as well as looking for professional resources that can provide the content needed when you start your coaching with educators. So that's why I say it's kind of threefold, the next steps with
Also
that.
very positive. So at the Literacy Summit this last month, one of the things that Governor Whitmer said that I thought was pretty incredible. So you know that Detroit is 5% ahead in growth in terms of the rest of the state. I know that they have done a lot of work as it relates to literacy coaching. What are the models that they have used that has helped them achieve that growth that the rest of the state really needs to start to see too?
Our direct interaction with Detroit has been through the Comprehensive Literacy State Development Grant. And so our unit specifically has been able to work with them over the last 4 or 5 years. And what we notice, and I don't want to give a name to a model, but what we have noticed is a lot of job embedded professional learning in Detroit. We've noticed a lot of what we call like a gradual release style, where we see their coaches are modeling. Their coaches are in the classrooms doing instructional rounds. Their coaches are offering feedback. And again, that's my limited personal view through the Comprehensive Literacy State Development Grant. They also leverage the coaches from Wayne Risa. And so that's my limited view. But we've done several visits, and it's outstanding what they're doing in Detroit.
Okay.
It's truly outstanding.
When you look at the requirements of there's a significant amount of teaching experience, which is obviously good, and bachelor's or master's degree, but if there's a gap here with what's required and what's actually the capacity of our pipeline, and there's a sense of job embedded learning that can make up that gap, I wonder if there's, if that's something we need to explore legislatively, because I don't think the bill covers that part, correct? In literacy coaching?
It does.
Okay.
It covers professional learning for coaches, educators, anyone who touches literacy.
Okay.
The law does cover the type of learning they should experience. Yes, that is in the K-12.
They should experience versus requirements to the literacy coaching model, correct?
No, the literacy coaching model is embedded in the law as well.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
So
There's a structure for the literacy model. There's a structure for the professional learning that should occur and who should be involved and who is considered eligible to be a coach is all embedded in the law.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Tilley.
Thank you all for the presentation. As a literacy coach, I wanted to ask you, who is on the ground working every day with our students, what is the differentiation you're seeing with this model so far, the delivery, the outcomes? What's the differentiation and approaches that you've used in the past?
With the letters training? I mean, letters is divided into 2 different units. So the first unit is on like early literacy, like phonological awareness, phonics, so what you teach in the early grades. And the second unit is on comprehension and vocabulary instruction, so on. So it's really not, it provides you the information and learning around all of those areas, and then it provides some examples, and you have to be able to take that knowledge and embed it into whatever curricular resource you're using. So it's not like, here are the steps that you need to do. It's like you learn about, again, like articulatory features, like you saw in the video with the kindergarten teacher. She had to take that knowledge and be able to embed that, apply it to what her resources in her building. So is
it enhancing basically what you were already doing?
Right. So I guess if you think of it this way, like a resource is giving you, and you'll see this, like a resource isn't what teaches a child, it's the teacher that teaches the child. It's their knowledge, it's their ability to make the moves in the moment, provide the feedback to the student, but you have to know what to look for. So letters provide you with, oh, now I understand when a child does this while they're reading, now I understand why they're doing that. Now I know what to do to help support that child. So that's where I see when I'm working with teachers, those teachers that have gone through the training are able to do that. They have the knowledge, they know, now they're using that and know how to apply and support their students. If you don't have the knowledge, then you don't know, it's hard to know what to even look for and how to support a student. So I think that's what I see is Those that have more knowledge are able to support their students better, and then therefore, when all of our hope is for students to be more successful, right? So they're successful adults. So that's what I see with those who have taken letters training.
So by comparison, do you feel that the professional development surpasses the other professional development trainings that you have seen in the past?
What I think needs to happen, that's why we had our screen of it's all of it together. I I think there's no magic bullet. Let's just say that. We're in an education, there's not a magic bullet. What I do think it's an integral part of the system, that common, having the knowledge of how to teach students how to read and write is our goal, right? That's why we're there as educators. That's why the students are there. That's why parents send their child there. The more knowledge they have, but then it has to be, as was mentioned, it was Mr. Robinson, I think you said, it's not the one and done. It's, I've taken letters training. Now, I'm going to go back and apply it, and as me as a coach, when I'm doing a coaching cycle with them, I can say, let's focus on articulatory features and sound walls. What is it you want to continue to learn and grow? What would you like me to watch so I can provide feedback? If that part wasn't a part of it as well, and you mentioned the amount of coaching the amount of coaching that needs to be in a building to provide that support. I mean, I'm so fortunate at Kent City. I have one building to do. And when I'm at a coaching, you know, meeting, and there are teachers or coaches that have 5 and 6 buildings, you know, the power and the transformation that can happen is not going to be the same as when I'm in the trenches day to day. I'm working behind students, supporting students day to day. I have the beautiful opportunity to do that, thanks to our leaders in our district, but not, again, the haves and has not. Not everybody has that, and so it's all of it working together. Again, we were just talking about it. We have an early release professional development. We have one every month. We connect it all together. Everything is connected. Whatever we talked about in our learning cycle, we're talking about it again. You have to keep layering, and that's how adults learn. That's how kids learn. That's just good teaching.
So they're applying their letters within a community of learners already. And I think that's, without that, I'm not sure that letters would be any different than any other theoretical training that you might receive as in part of your teacher pedagogy. But with this, there's a whole community supporting this ongoing conversation. And what I believe is the difference.
I definitely know that it's multi-layered. However, questioning the impact since you're using it every day.
What I would say is, I right now, because it's like pockets of teachers, so building-wide changes is hard to see because there's still, you can, in 4th grade, for example, you can have one of the 4 who have taken letters training, right? So I follow those teachers. When I look at the data for the classrooms where the teacher has done letters training and coaching, I see a huge difference in their data is tremendously different. I can look at scores, just living the life of a coach, you're always looking at data, so I'm kind of the data nerd in the building, and I can literally look at scores of a classroom and know whose room they came from because the teacher has the knowledge, and I know that they've taken letters and other professional learning. So do I see it classroom level? 100%. At this point, do I see it building level? No, not yet, because there's too many gaps. There's too many that still have not. But that's just the way the education system is, created. And but as more and more people get excited, and again, as we talk about, is it important to have a top down that you must take letters? I'm not sure if that's the answer either, because you have to have the buy-in. If you don't buy into it, and if you don't have coaches to support it, you have to have all of those things, that foundation and that structure in place before you can mandate something that you don't have the structures for. Otherwise, you're just paying teachers to go to a training that they're not going to go back and apply.
So, and basically you feel that it's tantamount to other professional development that
I've
you've
had a lot of professional learning in my time, and oh, don't laugh, he's laughing at me. I'm not that old, come on. Um, that even as someone who's, a literacy leader, has, their master's degree, all these things, I was walking away from the training going, oh my gosh, I've never read this. Oh my gosh, this is something new. And I get easily excited about literacy. So I would come back and be like, we have to try this. We have to do this. It wasn't like, yeah, I've read that before. Yeah, I know that. I was learning so much myself. So to me, that speaks to the depth and breadth of what is being taught in letters, that even all educators will be able to learn something out of each chat. I mean, you don't even want to see my book. I should have brought it. It's like coffee stained pool water, because you keep going back to it. It's one of those resources that you don't read once and then put it away. You keep going, oh my gosh, remember that? Let's go back to that. In our grade level teams, we bring the book with us and like, let's reread that section because it's so dense and how much you're learning. It is a lot of cognitive overload. So you can't just take it and be like, oh, I got it. It's like, let's dig into that unit. Let's dig into that. Let's look at our data in our building and let's dig into what it was in letters and let's use that and apply it. And then let's follow the data and see what happens. So it's that action research that, you have to go back and try and see where it goes. And then you tweak and you try it again.
Thank you.
Okay, any other, Dr. Pritchett?
Thank you.
And then Ms. Snyder after.
Thank you for the presentation. Quick question, I think, for the department. Help me remember teacher prep programs. Was there anything in this legislation that you're nodding your head? I thought there was. Because I appreciate your conversation about there has to be a base to start with. I was a secondary teacher, so put me in that kindergarten classroom. It would not go so well, all right? Though I do love the little circles, they were good. And as I was watching that, I thought there needs to be within the teacher prep, the basic anyways, and then work on and build on the PD, whether it's letters or the continuation of good literacy practices. So I wasn't dreaming that. There is part of the legislation deals with teacher prep also. All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Schneider?
Yes, I'd like a second bite. And seriously, 9 years ago, this was something that one of the reasons why I wanted to serve on this board. So like literally this conversation is very rich and coming full circle, including Judy's comment on teacher prep, knowledge of being the foundation. When you say buy-in, I think the buy-in foundation is absolutely there in Michigan, not just in our data showing our literacy rates, but in parents very clearly not being able to connect with their kids and how they're learning to read versus how they learn to read, the conversation that they have back and forth. And it doesn't have to be negative. It can be positive to say, no, we know we need to do something different. This is different than other times where we're just putting a twist on something and calling it something different. It's, no, we absolutely need to do something different. And it kind of translates to, my favorite part of my nursing career was when I was a labor and delivery nurse. And there's no way I would have been able to take care of mothers that are birthing if I did not know how to read all of the various contraction patterns and the diagnostic concept of what do I do next? Is this an emergency? Do I notify the doctor? Is mom and baby's life on the line? And I would argue with reading, if you become illiterate, your life is on the line. And if you cannot read that contraction pattern, you do not know how to position them, what medications to give, who to notify, what to do next, what button to press, how to adjust and titrate, then you're not in the full breadth of knowledge you need to be in order to serve who you're serving. So I hope the buy-in is there, and if it's not, I think our board is there, and we'll continue to work towards that in whatever way we can. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I just want to mention too, I appreciate your passion. It goes through. You're making a difference for students. It's evident based on the way you presented yourself. It's really refreshing. I also just want to say that I know coaching models are very important. I have experience in that area implementing, and to the funding issue, it is a challenge because local superintendents are using different funding buckets for this. So like you said, you have the one, you're getting state funding, some may use Title I, some may use general fund. Then there's like Title II funding is well coming to the federal government that last year we were worried it was going to go away. So we have to continue to advocate for those funding pots so that we can support these coaching models. That's what I plan to do in MDE. And I know our board has come out and supported letters and other things. You mentioned, Ms. Arlen, you know, teachers are willing to do what it takes, and that's why they came on board, because it's making a difference for students. That's what I heard.
Yes.
And that's why we're kind of, this is perfect, because in the legislative priorities later on, we're going to hear about letters and literacy being at the top. I know several of the board members were at the summit, and several of you were at the summit with the governor. And I've been talking to, it's important enough to do it. And you look at mandate, we know we're local control, but I've been meeting with legislators, both Republicans and Democrats, and everyone seems to be getting behind this idea of literacy and letters training from all the conversations. So you give the practical examples of how to make it happen, and your passion means a lot. So I really appreciate it. And I'd love to come and visit your district and see your students and see you in action. So
I was gonna say, any of you are welcome. Our teachers are so used to having, don't kill me if I'm saying being recorded too, that we've had so many districts come and visit us. Our teachers are awesome. There's like, I don't even really have to ask anymore. I do just to be polite, but their doors are always open, and we would love to have anybody in this room. We're so proud of the work that we're doing, and so we'd love to have you. So thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, MDE team, as well, for working together. The next item on the agenda is celebrating Michigan's top 10 strategic education plan progress. This presentation will highlight and celebrate the continued progress being made towards the top 10 goals. We welcome our presenters, Dr. Sue Carnell, Chief Deputy Superintendent, Dr. Delsa Chapman, Deputy Superintendent, Dr. Diane Golzinski, Deputy Superintendent, Division of Business Health and Library Services, Dr. Michelle Harmala, Deputy Superintendent, Division of Educator Excellence, Career and Technical Education, Special Education, and Administrative Law. Thank you. I'll give it over to you, Dr. Carnell.
All right, thank you, Dr. Maleko. Good morning, board members, and good morning to everyone. So we are here today to provide the board with an update on the progress of Michigan's top 10 strategic education plan. We've done this over the years. You know, in the past, I've sat here with the prior superintendent, and we've had over 120 some slides. We have condensed that greatly, so our presentation won't be as long, but we will highlight several of the key areas that we feel that are important for you to know. We're going to take this presentation in 3 ways. The first way is just to provide you an overview with the highlight of success measures. The second part is to talk about a few celebrations that have occurred within the goal area. And the third part of our presentation is to talk about the improvements we think would help us move forward. Just by way of reminders to people out there who are watching this, is that the Michigan Top 10 Strategic Education Plan, I just want to focus on what the board decided back in 2020, that it wasn't just for the Michigan Department of Education, but it was a statewide strategic education plan. It was originally approved by the board in 2016, and in 2020 it was updated. During that updated, the goals were more concise, and then also success measures were part of that update as well. Today we're going to highlight, there are 8 goals. Today we're going to specifically hone in on 6 of the goals, because the metrics associated with Goal 1 and Goal 6 are part of the Michigan Lifelong Education Advancement and Potential Department, MyLEAP. And so we've invited MyLEAP to come and talk about Goals 1 and Goal 6. Goal 1 you will hear in February, and Goal 6 you will hear from MyLEAP soon. So we're going to start with our foundational goals. Goal 8, which is ensuring adequate and equitable school funding. And Goal 7, addressing the teacher shortage. We know that these are foundational goals because without good human resources or financial resources, it makes it a challenge to adhere or meet the metrics with the rest of the goal areas. So I am going to turn it over to my colleague, Diane Golzinski, who's going to start with Goal 8.
Good morning, Board. Thank you, Dr. Carnell. So starting with Goal 8, it is important that we fund the needs of all students. As we have said many times, each student's needs will determine what it takes, what it costs to educate each different student. As we look at the per pupil target foundation allowance, Michigan has made a strong commitment to increasing the education funding for students. As shown here, the target foundation allowance increased from $8,529 per pupil in FY21 to just over $10,000 per pupil in this current fiscal year. Over the past 5 years, Michigan has made historic investments in education, particularly for our most vulnerable populations. In fiscal year 2026, support for economically disadvantaged students went to $1.29 billion, and students with disabilities, $528.1 million. English learners is at $62.7 million, and students with disabilities is at $12.87 million. These investments reflect our commitment to meeting students where they are and ensuring every child has access to a high-quality education. These targeted investments are helping to close opportunity gaps. We can go to the next, thank you, and lay the blocks for long-term academic success. This is a moment to celebrate. I'd also like to recognize the MDE team for their exceptional work in managing and distributing these funds. Many of our MDE team members are in the back with us today. In the last fiscal year, MDE administered approximately 25% of the state's budget with around 150 state grants, with only 1% of the state's full-time equivalent workforce. MDE processed over 180 grants, both federal and state, totaling $11.6 billion. Over the last 6 fiscal years, the department has processed and distributed $111.7 billion. Next, you will hear from Dr. Harmala.
All right, I'm going to speak with you about Goal 7. All right, thank you, Dr. Carnell. All right, next slide. So we have 4 areas that we look at when we measure success within the areas of our recruitment, retention, and teacher diversity pipeline. We monitor the progress of enrollment in our teacher preparation institutions. We take a look at the educator positions report. We look at teacher to student ratios. We look at teachers by diversity and ethnicity. Right now, we're going to share only 2 of those elements. Our Goal 7 presentation later this year will include more detail in all of the measures. You've seen this chart before. We've added the last row of data, which says that we were running about 23,000 students in teacher prep institutions in 2011-12. That dropped to a low of just over 9,500 in 2016. And we are now in the current year up to 17,780 students, a very promising move in the right direction for all the initiatives that we have underway. Despite the progress, challenges still remain. This particular slide shows you that we have a significant number of educators that are temporarily assigned or not appropriately credentialed, which means that they don't yet have the credential or the endorsement for the position they happen to be in. They're likely working toward that, but it demonstrates that we don't always have the certified teacher right out of the gates in every position, and the effects of this certainly are things that we have to continue to work on for the sake of our students. Some celebrations in this area. We're encouraged about the state funding we've received in the past. The first 2 bullet items are items we have received funding for previously, 27A and 27C, the My Future Educator Fellowship Program and the student teacher stipends. But new this year is a $70 million tiered grant system for continuation of Grow Your Own programs and teacher development programs. additional celebrations. We have continued scholarships for future educators. We have stipends and mentoring programs. We have our Grow Your Own programs, particularly highlighting the CTE Future Proud Michigan Educator Launch Program, our Explore program, Talent Together, the West Michigan Teacher Collaborative, Teach for America, and the Michigan Educator Workforce Initiative, to name a few. And continuing with celebrations, we also have tuition reimbursements in special education for teachers and social workers, and a variety of other initiatives that are meant to grow our teacher pipeline. You as a board approved special ed teacher standards for a new endorsement of May of 2025. I am happy to report that work is progressing through the rulemaking process, and we look forward to seeing those new programs and new endorsements set up in the year ahead. And I will move to goal 2, which is our literacy achievement, and hand it over to Dr. Chapman.
Thank you, Dr. Harmala. We monitor progress in literacy through federal and state assessments, as we all know. The National Assessment of Educational Progress, or NAEP, with fourth grade reading, and third and fourth grade ELA through our MSTEP. Michigan's latest NAEP scores are shared here on this slide. It is important to note that NAEP is only a snapshot of Michigan students. Only 3.5% Michigan fourth grade students are randomly selected to participate in this assessment. Although we understand and agree that these early literacy scores are not where they need to be, it is also significantly important to note that although Michigan is ranked 44th in the state on this reading assessment, there is no statistically significantly difference between the states that ranked 32 through 48. Now I'd like to share the state assessment data in early literacy, which all districts need to administer throughout the state. As you can see here on the screen, taking a close look at the years noted here, the pandemic had a significant impact on early literacy. If we follow a cohort of our third graders over time, they are making some progress, as you can see here on this slide. Their scores increase as they progress to fourth grade and on to eighth grade. Here you'll see last year's eighth grade data, and again, an upward progression from when they were tested in fourth grade. This is encouraging information, thus highlighting it today. Again, not where we need to be, but definitely improving. On this slide, we are sharing all of Michigan's assessments, and we note that we are beginning to see some signs of recovery. In 2025 in particular, Michigan students demonstrated notable improvements. Scores increased on 14 of 20 assessment categories. Gains were especially strong in math, grades 4 through 7, and ELA, grades 5 through 8 and 11. These are the highest scores in 3 years, reflecting the dedication of our educators, our students, and our families. So we know that literacy is a critical priority. A major initiative supporting the literacy efforts in Michigan's investment in letters, language essentials for teachers of reading and spelling. As we heard earlier, this professional development equips educators with evidence-based strategies grounded in the science of reading, and we believe the commitment to this professional development is starting to have positive impacts on our students, as was recently shared prior to today by Waterford School District and then emphasized as shared by Kent City School District. To date, over 5,800 educators have completed letters training, with an additional 5,800 currently active. Another significant celebration is the passage of landmark literacy and dyslexia legislation in 2024, which requires universal screening for dyslexia characteristics in grades K-3, intervention for all K-12 students demonstrating need, In response, MDE has already delivered, as noted in our literacy presentation, a list of approved screening and progress monitoring tools, a list of evidence-based Tier 1 reading curricula. And now, specifically on Public Act 147, we'll hear from Dr. Harmala.
And Dr. Pritchett, you had a good memory, and we're going to share a little bit about preparation of our teachers in the college prep system. So PA 147 is the educator preparation side of the landmark literacy legislation that you heard about earlier. So there are two things that are required in that legislation. First, that all educator prep providers must offer instruction in understanding the causes and characteristics of dyslexia, appropriate instructional adjustments to support learners who are or at risk of or have dyslexia, as well as school-wide multi-tiered systems of support to meet students' needs. The second requirement is that all educator prep programs in reading, language arts, special ed, and school psychology must also offer instruction in evidence-based instructional methods grounded in the science of reading and principles of structured literacy to support all learners, including those with dyslexia or at risk of dyslexia. These requirements are not necessarily new to every program. Entities may have already had such elements in their programs. What is new is that it is now a requirement that those noted programs must address the elements that I shared. Additionally, these requirements support MDE's decade-long strategic work to improve the quality of literacy teacher preparation across the PK-12 preparation spectrum, including early literacy and numeracy in our changes in our teacher credential. You might recognize that diagram on the lower right-hand corner, as well as strengthening middle and high school teachers' abilities to support adolescent literacy development across content areas by the way we restructured our standards and our preparation of teachers a few years back. Central to accomplishing the goals of PA 147 is the Institution of Higher Education Literacy Collaborative. That is a monthly convening of our teacher prep institutions with our MDE staff to share practice and increase collective understanding of both the requirements and the implementation of Public Act 147. And we look forward to implementation by the fall of this coming school year. Dr. Carnell and team. Oh, yeah, your turn.
Back to me with some additional celebrations. And those include significant increases in funding dedicated to literacy, more literacy coaches hired in supporting districts, diverse classroom library guidance, our Diversity in Literature Symposium, as well as comprehensive history webinars. And now, moving on to our next goal area, Dr. Golzinski.
Thank you, Dr. Chapman and Dr. Harmala. So goal 3 is improve the health, safety, and wellness of all learners. This goal recognizes that students cannot thrive academically unless their physical, emotional, and psychological needs are met. We track several success measures for this goal, including participation in school meals, student attendance, access to mental health supports. Due to time constraints, I'll focus on a few of these areas where we've seen notable progress or where we have some new data. Let's begin with Michigan school meals. In the last school year, over 488,000 students participated in school breakfast programs. That's a 29% increase over the past 2 years. This is a powerful indicator that more students are starting their day with the nutrition that they need to grow and learn. Lunch participation also saw a significant increase with over 876,000 students receiving a lunch. That is a 24% increase. When students are well fed and not worried about their next meal, they are better able to focus, engage, and succeed in the classroom. We're also seeing encouraging signs in student attendance. While we haven't yet returned to pre-pandemic levels, we've made substantial progress. In the 24-25 school year, Michigan's average attendance rate reached over 91%. The percentage of students who are not chronically absent is also increasing, but not yet back to pre-pandemic numbers. This is a critical metric as consistent attendance is directly linked to academic achievement and graduation outcomes. Mental health and school safety are essential components of student wellness. Over the past 5 years, Michigan has made significant investments in these areas, recognizing the growing need for support services in our schools. These investments have enabled districts to hire more school counselors, behavioral health staff, and school resource officers. As a result, the number of students receiving school-based mental health services has grown from nearly 9,000 in 2019-2020 to over 56,000 in 2024-2025. This is a remarkable increase and a testament to the impact of sustained recurring funding. We celebrate the success of Michigan school meals, saving parents $1,000 per child annually. More students are focused on learning and not hunger. The program has eliminated stigma and lunch shaming. Food service directors can now focus on menu innovation, scratch cooking, farm to school initiatives, rather than chasing down unpaid school meal debt. We also celebrate the allocation of mental health and school safety funds. Schools have implemented safety upgrades, including cameras, secure entryways, and threat response training. Nearly 200 school resource officers and over 650 support staff have been added through Section 31AA funding. Behavioral health coordinators are helping streamline services and train staff to better support students. In addition, MDE has released guidance for a comprehensive school mental health system of supports developed in collaboration with over 50 statewide experts. Dr. Chapman, back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Kozinski. Now, let's move on to Goal 4, expand secondary learning opportunities for all students. You received a detailed update on this goal in November, so we will highlight a few key metrics and accomplishments today. We measure success in this area through 6 indicators, as you see noted here on the screen, and they are advanced placement, or AP, career and technical education, or CTE, early middle college, dual enrollment, international baccalaureate, and special education transition services. As noted here on the screen, we're seeing growth, strong growth, in student participation across all these programs. Dual enrollment and early middle college have experienced double-digit increases, reflecting expanded access as well as student interest. Participation in advanced placement, or AP exams, is also on the rise. More students are taking AP courses and exams than ever before. Even more exciting is the improvement in performance. As noted here on the screen, over the past 5 years, we've seen double-digit increases in the number of students scoring a 3, 4, or 5 on AP exams, scores that can earn college credit. And now, CTE emphasis and celebrations, Dr. Harmala.
We're also seeing a surge in our CTE programs, not only in enrollments, but in completers. That means they've finished a full CTE program, gaining valuable skills and often credentials. And special education transition services measures the movement of students with disabilities from their high school to the post-secondary world through enrollment in post-secondary education, employment, or a combination of both. We have good numbers in terms of our compliance, meaning the participation of students in their IEPs. We are seeing good responses in terms of involvement, but still have areas to grow, as those numbers are about 75% of students meeting either post-secondary involvement, work outside of high school, or a combination of both. We have some celebrations in career and technical education with increased funding that was a part of the fiscal 26 budget, as well as monies we've received in the past, as well as that to local districts to expand career and technical education. Enrollments and completions are up and at record levels. We've seen post-secondary credit agreements with our partners in higher ed move from 115 with 14 partners to 144 agreements with 18 partners in just 1 year. Dr.
And thank you, Dr. Harmela. And in AP, or Advanced Placement, participation increased by 12.3% in the last 2 years. A special point to note, over 63,000 students took one or more AP exams. Nearly 111,000 AP exams were administered. More than 44,000 students scored a 3 or higher, historic highs for Michigan. MDE sent over 81,000 letters to families encouraging AP participation. Now let's shift to goal 5, increase the percentage of all students who graduate from high school. The primary success measure for this goal is the 4-year adjusted cohort graduation rate. Here on the screen, we would like to note that over the past decade, Michigan's 4-year graduation rate has increased from 78.6% to 82.8%, reflecting steady progress in supporting students. Here you see graduation rates over the last 5 years. And here is the most recent year's data. It is exciting to note here on this slide that in 2024, 13 of 17 student subgroups had graduation rates higher than in 2019, which was pre-pandemic. This includes gains among historically underserved populations. And yes, we celebrate within Goal 5 as well. A record high graduation rate of 82.8% in 2024, the highest since adopting the federal calculation in 2008. Nearly 80% of partnership district high schools increased their graduation rates in 2025, helping more students transition successfully to college and to careers. Thank you, and back to you, Dr. Carnell.
Thank you, Dr. Chapman. So you just heard my colleagues talk about the 6 goal areas, and I mentioned earlier that goals 1 and 6 are part of the MyLeap department, but I'm going to quickly hit upon some of the indicators associated with goals 1 and 6. So let's start with goal 1, expanding early childhood learning opportunity. On MyLeap's webpage, they have announced that enrollment in pre-K for all, which is our GSRP program, is at an all-time high with 51,000 children enrolled in pre-K for all, 4-year-old program. Then when we look at goal 6, a few highlights related to goal 6, which is to increase the percentage of adults with post-secondary credential. On MyLeap's webpage, they talk about there has been an increase in the number of adults that obtain post-secondary credentials, either a certificate or a degree. You can see here on this slide that currently, or the latest data that they have, is that 51.8, nearly 52% of adults ages 25 to 64 have obtained a certificate or degree. So we've talked about a lot of success measures, celebrations, and we know we still have room to grow, work to do, not just to the department, but collectively statewide. Some of the areas of improvement we'd like to recommend is to continue on the literacy efforts, literacy in general and early literacy efforts with letters training and high quality instructional materials. We also want to continue the increases in mental health support. We want to increase and continue the expansion of career and technical education. We also want to continue our teacher recruitment efforts. And of course, we want to advocate for equitable and adequate and equitable funding that is allowed to the School Finance Research Collaborative. And with that, we thank you for your attention. Back to you, Dr. Maleko.
Thank you very much, Dr. Carnell, Dr. Chapman, Dr. Blazinski, Dr. Harmel, a team that we're forming, working together. So appreciate the excellent presentation. I'll open it up with the board. Dr. Robinson.
First of all, thank you again. These presentations, both of them this morning, have been chock full of data and information. A lot of work has been put into them, so thank you. I have kind of three little chunks that I want to try to get to. One, the issue on, I think it's slide 15, temporarily assigned positions and vacant positions. This is kind of where I live, teacher preparation and teacher shortage and all that. I think it's important that we know, like, not every temporarily assigned position or teacher vacancy is the same, right? So having a vacant position or somebody on an emergency permit in a big suburban high school, but surrounded by other people that do have that certification and those qualifications, is different than all of the third grade teachers in an elementary school somewhere, none of whom are certified to teach. I mean, that's a completely different scenario and situation. So I think it would be interesting, and I'm not asking you to say this right now, but if we could dig a little, if it's possible, dig a little deeper and break these numbers down by school type. So is it a traditional public school? Is it a charter academy? Are they urban, rural, suburban? What is the poverty level in the school? School district size and geographic location, is it different in the UP? Is it different in the Thumb? Is it different in mid-Michigan, et cetera? I think it would be interesting to know those kinds of breakdowns so we could really be able to target resources where they would be the most useful. And while I appreciate efforts to generate like a more diverse teaching force, right, through Teachers of Tomorrow, Teach for America, all the kind of alternative route programs that we are funding and providing grants to and support. I think it's also important to understand that the average time in the classroom for most of the ARC alternative route programs is 2 to 3 years. That does not solve a teacher shortage, and in fact, may be exacerbating the teacher shortage. When you get continual turnover of young teachers, people not gaining and accruing experience in the classroom, getting the professional development that we've heard about because they're transitioning out after 2 or 3 years, that may actually be making the teacher shortage worse. And we're part of funding making that worse. So I'm worried about that. I know I feel like a broken record because I keep on talking about that. And then finally, the new, so we're interested, we know we have a problem with the teacher shortage. We're making some improvements here, which is great, and I think that's worth celebrating. At the same time, I think we as MDE in the state are also creating some maybe unintended obstacles to getting teachers, especially traditionally prepared teachers, into the classroom. The one that I'm focusing on right now in my own program is this new PKS, Professional Knowledge and Skills Test. We had a version of this 10, 12 years ago. It changed and then it went away. And now it's back, and I don't know why. I've not heard anyone ask for it. I've not heard any teacher preparation program say, what we need is another Michigan test of teacher certification, basic knowledge and skills, essentially. In my opinion, it's creating yet another financial and administrative obstacle to getting teachers into the classroom. And I wonder what the goal of creating another obstacle for getting new teachers into the classroom while we're dealing with the teacher shortage seems to be like sitting in a boat with a hole in the bottom and drilling the hole a little bit larger. I've asked the question before, and I got some kind of a response, but and I'm not asking you. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I know it sounds like I am, and maybe part of me is, but I'm not expecting you to answer this now. I just want to kind of put these issues on the table for us to think about.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to celebrate here. I do think we could dig a little deeper on some, and I'm not saying that you're not digging deeper, but there's probably data out there that might help us be even more targeted and more helpful with putting resources where they belong and understanding what the situation is.
100%. Thank you for all of that. As a former higher ed teacher prep professional, lots of things that resonate with me. I do want to share with you that in April, we'll be bringing our OEE team to the table to share not only their annual Goal 7 report, but bringing EPIC, which is our research partner. And I think you'll be really interested in the deep level of data. They have heat maps that demonstrate all over the state where some of those hot spots are and why and in what areas. So it's different locally for everybody. It might be elementary somewhere, special ed somewhere, and it might be all of the above in other areas. So we will share that. And our team is in the back of the room taking copious notes as well as myself. So we will be able to share with you on some of the other things, but also not just share a response, but look into some of those areas and continue our great work around preparing teachers. So thank you.
And thank you to everybody in the back there that's doing all the work. Appreciate it.
Anyone else? Any board member? Yes, Ms. Lipton, and then Dr. Pugh.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation and for the information. I just have just a very specific question on the slide slide that says Goal 4 celebrations, exclamation point, and it's the first of those two slides when we're talking about career and technical education. And in the fourth bullet point, I just had a question about these Michigan post-secondary credit agreements. So yes, they've grown. Is that something that the high school has to engage in also? Is that with a community college? I'm just curious to know a little bit more about these specific agreements, since those seem to be an important component of the CTE process.
Sure, so I can get you more specific data like the who's and what kinds of things, but think about it like a college or a community college or a college or university may offer a variety of programs. You would have an articulation agreement about sharing credit with different programs. You might have 14 universities, but you would have all those programs don't necessarily articulate credit for students. So you might have, for example, in a community college, articulation around auto body or auto technician or a health services occupation. You might not have it in another area that we don't offer career and tech ed programs related to those. But if you would like some, I won't necessarily give you all 115, but a broad array, kind of a summary paragraph of what those look like generally across the state, we can certainly provide that.
Just, so it sounds to me that, and these are articulation agreements between the higher ed and the school district?
Yeah.
Credit, or what classes the students can take, and then what credit they would be able to get for their...
What CTE classes articulate to some level of credit in that entity.
Okay, so it sounds to me like do we have any idea, I'm just curious, because going from 115 with 14 post-secondary partners in 23-24 to 144 with 18 post-secondary partners in 24-25, that's a nice healthy increase. Do we have any idea as to what the potential reason for that increase? Is it just greater recognition, or the ability of community colleges to be more willing to work with their local? I'm just curious.
I will ask CTE specifically. I would have my own speculations, but it'd be better for me to ask them specifically what the data says about that.
It seems to me that if we can sort of get more community colleges thinking about how they can work with their high schools, it certainly could be an exciting opportunity, both for students getting exposed to community college while they're still in high school, which is, just from my vantage point, running a scholarship program, it sometimes can be a very valuable exercise for the student to build the confidence that, yes, I can do this.
We'll follow up.
Can can I just mention too, I'm a big proponent of that as well and did a lot of work at the local area. In fact, I had like 3,800 students taking dual enrollment, saving parents. So we had a lot of different programs and opportunities. I think the expansion is positive. I think we'll defer to that for the data, but I think that's a good sign, and I think we can do more as well. So I'm very interested in this as well. Thank you, Ms. Lipton. Dr. Pugh.
Board Member Lipton took one of my questions, and thank you all for answering that, but around the CTE agreements, or the agreements. First of all, this is such great information and news, and what a way to start the new year. One of the questions that I have that I will focus on here is on slide 37, and I think you spoke a little bit more about my question somewhere else in the maybe slide 40. But just looking at the mental health support services, that is a tremendous leap. I know we've been talking about the dollars from like $0 to a third of $1 billion increase, and to be able to see how that plays out in services. Thank you for this data, and more that we can add to the good news story to tell. Um, what do these services look like? I know you've shared a little bit. And the other piece is on the preparation for professionals, because I know that there was some work that we were doing around the pipeline to get those additional helps professionals into our school buildings, but also into the profession. And if you have any information to add there, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Dr. Pugh. So one thing I just want to point out on this slide, these numbers are just one of the funding streams in the current fiscal budget. This is just that section 31N sub 6, which are funds that are going to ISDs and then filtering down to districts. There's also section 31AA, which has the per pupil funding, which allows some districts to be able to add providers as well. So I just wanted to make mention that these are just a snapshot of some numbers that we have. Now, the person who runs that is not here to tell us exactly what those services look like, but I will get you that response. In terms of preparation of these professionals, we have other areas in which we are working to try to improve the numbers of professionals available so that we're no longer borrowing from Peter to pay Paul in order to get professionals into schools. One of those was a federal SAMHSA grant that had been canceled by the administration, and we recently won the lawsuit to reinstate that particular funding source. So that one, the goal of that particular project is to help cover costs for people who are interning in these areas, because just like student teachers, it's really hard to work a full-time job and to do this, to be able to get the credentials needed to do this work in schools and serve kids. So that is the type of things that we're working on, but I'd be happy to get you a better, more comprehensive answer after today.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other board members? All right, thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. Oh, Dr. Carnell, go ahead.
Yes, I also like to recognize Kelly Siciliano Carter for helping us put this presentation together. So thank you all.
And I can just mention too, I know Kelly, we're excited we're going to work together because we're going to, I know the board's aware, we're going to bring back at some point this year just to revisit the top 10 plan, to bring stakeholders back. And Kelly, I know, has been very excited. We've already had some conversations, so more to come. Thank you. Next, we're going to move to the report of the Teachers of the Year. Presentation of the Michigan Teacher of the Year. I want to welcome Mr. Corey Rosser, 2025-26 Michigan Teacher of the Year, Social Studies teacher, Quest High School, North Branch Area Schools, and Ms. Heather Wolf, Region 4 Regional Teacher, History and Practical Law teacher, Shepherd High School. Welcome, and I'm glad we got that picture taken care of. We can post that later, right, with the sign, so I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. As we get started, I wanted to thank the State School Board for your service to the students of the state of Michigan. I know we have somewhere around 1.4 students, and the decisions that you guys make at these monthly meetings impact every single student and every single teacher. And so I appreciate the time and the gravity of the decisions that you guys make. And I wanted to thank one of my favorite board members, Jennifer Roble, who's actually an employee of MDE. She's been really integral in setting up some amazing opportunities for me. Holt Schools is very, very lucky to have somebody with her background and lucky to have somebody with her passion for students. So with that, I'll introduce Heather and I'll let her tell you a little bit more about herself.
Thank you to the State Board and thank you to State Superintendent Maleko for having me today. And thank you to Corey. It's been a pleasure to work with him also. So just a little bit about myself. I have a Bachelor of Science in Education and then a Master's in History. And this is my 26th year of teaching in the same school district. So I've spent my whole career at Shepherd High School. And I primarily teach history and practical law, but I also double as a secondary instructional coach at Shepherd Middle School and Shepherd High School. This year, I'm also fortunate to be one of the advisors through our local RESD for the Links German Exchange Program. So I, with another teacher, will be taking 13 students to Germany this spring and staying for 2 weeks. And I'm also the president-elect and Region 9 representative for the Michigan Council for the Social Studies and also a member of the National Council for the Social Studies.
So I was fortunate in October to visit Shepherd Schools, and we're going to talk more about that toward the end of the presentation. But as you look at our two school districts between North Branch Area Schools and Shepherd Schools, there's a lot of crossover, both rural schools, farming communities, similar in geographic size, similar in demographics. And so there's a lot of crossover between our districts. And as I visited, I saw some of those really cool little differences, but a lot of similarities as well. And so as Heather introduces the topic, supporting and retaining teachers, the impact of instructional coaching at secondary levels. A couple things that we've talked about at the board meeting today resonated with me. Dr. Hermela presented some statistics that showed that we do have more teachers going into teacher preparation programs, which is fantastic. Still much lower than it was 20 years ago, and so we still have a lot of work to do. And we've got to find ways to fill those gaps. And Dr. Robinson had mentioned that that not all openings are equal. That a teacher surrounded by great teachers and proper support, even if they don't have that same teacher prep program or that same training, has a much higher chance of success. And so a lot of what Heather's going to talk about today is how to retain teachers as well, because that's a really important piece. There are a lot of teachers leaving the field faster than ever. We've seen that in our own district where we get people drop in for a cup of coffee and decide maybe teaching's not for them. Our district's done a great job with supporting those teachers. We've been able to retain more as of late. I know that that's a passion of Heather. So go ahead, Heather.
So the profession that I love, I've seen over the past decade some dire things happening. In our district, it's happening too. And so that's why I wanted to talk to you about this today. And another thing I see in my region, I see coaches a lot of times at the elementary level, but I don't see them at the secondary level. And let's face it, teachers at the secondary level also need support. And they also need meaningful, embedded, targeted ways for them to be able to sustain what they're doing. So the teacher retention issue, I know that you've all heard a lot about this, but I just wanted to give a couple statistics just to kind of set the foundation. So according to the EPIC teacher shortage study from 2025, from the fall of 2023 to 2024, 17% of teachers left their school, 14% left their district, and almost 10% left the profession. And not only that, but teacher retention challenges are felt across every type of school district. So it's not something that is just happening in urban schools or rural schools or public schools or charter schools. It's felt everywhere. And many areas of instruction are also feeling the challenges because of teacher turnover and teacher retention issues. And not only that, there was some things today spoken about relating to the emerging identity of today's new teachers. So we don't just see teachers coming from the traditional pipelines. We are starting to see a lot of teachers, my district included, where teachers are coming from non-traditional routes. So I also wanted to put in this presentation some statistics from the EPIC report that I referred to earlier. The alternative route programs have surged from 2% to over 30% of Michigan's total trainees. So there's a huge amount that are coming from non-traditional programs, while traditional programs have gotten better, but they're still seeing little to no growth in 2024. And so I'm going to give you just a little of my experience with this issue at Shepherd High School. So as Corey showed, our districts are similar. We both come from rural districts. And in my high school, there are 26 teaching positions. And in the past 5 years, because of retirements, because of teachers switching positions, because of teachers leaving the district, 21 hires have had to be made. And 9 of those were brand new to the profession, and 3 of the 9, so a third, came from non-traditional programs. 12 had experience that were hired in, and 1 of those that had experience also came from a non-traditional program. And during that 5-year period, we've had some turnover in some departments where it's been one teacher after another. 5 have left the district during that time frame. And so what my district decided to do, they asked me if I would start instructional coaching at the secondary level to try to help with some of these issues. And so one of the things I have found is with instructional coaching at the secondary level, we've been able to help with some of these retention issues. So this is in my experience, and instructional coaching can look different in different districts, in different places. But in my experience, it's an experienced educator who works collaboratively with teachers to improve classroom instruction and enhance student learning ultimately. Because if the teacher feels supported, students are going to get a better education and feel supported. An instructional coach also supports teachers' professional growth through not only coaching, but through feedback and through resources to equip that teacher with the things that they need. And also fosters a culture of collaboration and reflection. And I heard somebody today talk about instructional rounds and learning walks, and that's part of what I do too, is I help teachers get into each other's classrooms. I have some teachers come even and observe my own classroom. I have younger teachers go observe more experienced teachers, and then we talk about some of the strategies they're seeing, and we collaborate on how that can be used to build a culture in our building to help support students. So here's a lot of the mini supports that coaching in my district has started to offer to secondary teachers. Like I just said, visiting classrooms to provide constructive feedback, modeling effective teaching strategies in the moment. And I'll show you an example of that in just a minute. Co-teaching to implement some of these strategies, consulting with teachers, researching and providing resources, planning together to implement strategies, lessons, or units, facilitating data analysis to inform their instruction, creating, facilitating, or leading professional development opportunities. Right now, we are doing a book study that I am facilitating about the anxious generation and how we can help teachers understand the learners that they are dealing with today. Collaborating and acting as a thought partner to encourage reflection and growth, and mentoring and supporting, especially our new teachers.
So as Heather had said with her job, really for teacher retainment, that collaboration part is the key, and it's connecting the teachers to those resources. So as you know, as you guys talk about students all the time, if we can have every resource in the world, but if we're not doing a good job educating people on how to use those resources, and we don't have an organized plan on how to use those resources, they're really lost on that. And so this is just a sample of North Branch area schools, how it's broken down. There's a very clear structure with our curriculum coaches, whose role is what, who's in charge of what, who oversees what, and we've been able to increase our retainment due to that. So go ahead with the next one.
One thing that we also know is teachers typically implement around 10% of what they learn in a traditional professional development setting. and that was even brought up today, whereas they implement upwards of 95% of what they learn with support of a coach. And that's because what they are targeting and dealing with is intentional, and the coach is there as a constant support, not just a one-shot thing. And so some other benefits that instructional coaches offer to educators, they help with validation of what's happening in the classroom with targeted practices and best practice for students. They advocate and support the individual so that the individual feels equipped every day as they're instructing their students. They help with a maintenance of a growth mindset. We don't know it all, but we continue to learn together and continue to foster that culture. Protected time to collaborate with a thought partner. So the teachers I work with, they know I'm not there as an administrator to evaluate them. I am there to support them. I am there to help them reach their goals for success, and so that's a really important part of that. So it's a safe place to try new strategies with coaching in the moment where they don't feel threatened. And it allows for embedded time and space for them to reflect and then to plan. And I wanted to show you an example of one of the teachers that I worked with. Her name is Jessalyn Beers, and she is a 10th grade biology teacher. She came to my district on a non-traditional training route. And so she came with a bachelor's degree in biology, but she had no teaching credentials. And she is part of the Teach for Tomorrow program. And I began working with her about a year ago. And I wanted to just give you a short clip so you could hear some of her takeaways from instructional coaching.
Hi, my name is Jessalyn Beers, and I'm a 10th grade biology teacher here at Shepherd High School. Heather has worked with me very closely as a non-traditional young teacher through the Teachers of Tomorrow program, giving me access to plenty of strategies, classroom management strategies, engagement strategies, helping me build that toolbox, but also just creating a relationship with me where there's no judgment and we're just doing this reflective process, trying to improve one day at a time. Most importantly to me, she's given me access to a collaborative experience with coworkers that I would not have been willing to start on my own as a young new faculty member. So I can see our relationship shifting and changing as I continue in my career, but I think instructional coaching has been life-changing for me, and I think it'll be life-changing for anybody that tries it out.
And as you can see, Jessalyn was really adamant when she knew that I was going to be presenting and including her in this presentation today that I show you some data from her teacher evaluation. So this was by her request. So her teacher observations were conducted using the Charlotte Danielson model. And you can see in about a year's time in the subcategories the kind of growth that she showed. So she was marked 18 categories as minimally effective, in 38 as effective, and in 0 as highly effective in December of 2024. And then less than a year later, we worked really hard together, but brought her growth score up to 1 minimally effective, 48 effective ratings, and 8 highly effective. And so she's really proud, and she is thriving this year.
Hi.
And so I'm just going to read also, she gave me a paragraph to read to you, and this is what she wanted to say. As a young new teacher working towards my certification through a non-traditional route, I can confidently say that instructional coaching was a luxury I never expected to have. Instructional coaching goes beyond the reach of traditional classroom observations by fostering close collaborative relationships among colleagues without fear of judgment. These relationships not only help improve a teacher's skills in the classroom, but also help new teachers establish roots that could outlast their careers. While mentorship often focuses on the practical side of teaching, from finding the copy room to managing parent communication, instructional coaching fills an entirely different and equally essential role. Unlike full-time teaching staff, an instructional coach can dedicate time to a continuous reflective process tailored to each teacher. For new teachers, this often means exploring engagement strategies or classroom management plans, but over time, it can evolve to meet each teacher's changing roles. Maybe year 5 is the year you want to simplify grading. Maybe year 3, you're refining assessments to align with state testing. Maybe year 18 brings a new curriculum to unpack. Instructional coaching adapts to every stage of a teacher's journey and has the power to positively shape the culture of teaching, especially in these times of educator shortages.
And so, as I previously mentioned, North Branch has seen the benefits of instructional coaches as well, particularly our high school English department, where this past year we brought one teacher back that had a year experience. We had a teacher that we had hired last January, and then we had 3 new teachers out of college. And so, to have an instructional coach provide that guidance and be that support is going to help stabilize our English department. And beyond just the assistance they've had to teachers, we've seen real growth in test scores as well. So huge scores in math specifically. So a little bit about what I've been up to around the state. I had the opportunity to go visit Heather up at Shepherd. She had a wonderful visit planned. If you go back or think back to the demographics slide, we talked about how similar our communities were, and really when you look at the demographics, kind of almost homogeneous. With her district, they do have a higher Native American population or Indigenous people population. And I think that a lot of times with rural schools where we can fail is because most of our students in our mind look alike, we fail to celebrate the diversity of the few that are there. One thing that I was really impressed with is they had a specific cultural room for their Native American students. And so I think that had those students feeling seen and heard and celebrated. I did have an opportunity on the top right there. Carl Anderson, I student taught for him at Harrison Public Schools 22 years ago. Judy Walton said to say hi. I think she knows some people in the room. Carl taught for 38 years, retired, and it just shows the impact teachers have. Carl was no longer in the school system. They weren't sure exactly where he was. They said, we know he lives around this area, and it was a small town, so I knocked on doors until somebody told me where Carl used to live. And so I did find Carl, and it was fantastic to see him. And just kind of a testament to the influence that our teachers in Michigan have. On the bottom right were 2 teachers that were very impactful for me while I student taught, that really supported me. And I'll be honest, I was a little disappointed that when I saw them, they didn't remember me. But I think that's a testament to the impact that we have, right? We come across so many people, we don't really know where our impact begins and ends with some people. And so these are 2 teachers that, while I was a coworker of theirs, were very special to me and impactful in my career. Other experiences I had an opportunity to visit Sarah. Sarah presented, I think, 2 months ago here at Kentwood Public Schools. She had a great visit as well. We went to Crossroads Alternative Ed. They're doing fantastic things in job preparation. Very, very impressed with some of the things they're doing. I wish we could copy them at Quest, but we're in a little more rural area, so they're a little more difficult. But we looked at ways that maybe we can mirror what they're doing. So that was great. And I also had a chance to go to Harper Creek Schools to see some different things that they were doing there as well. So it was just fantastic experiences across the state of Michigan, seeing what students are up to. And I've been really thankful to just have that window into what educators are doing across the state. So we appreciate your time. Does anybody have any comments or questions for Heather or I?
Dr. Robinson?
First of all, thank you. This is, again, great. This whole meeting feels like it was designed to make me happy. So I really appreciate that. My younger son just got a job. So thank you, right? Out of the house. And I've been really interested to watch how he's an engineer, how his entry into the profession has differed from what I remember as my entry into the profession or my current students who get jobs. So they flew him out to Portland, Oregon for a week, paid for everything. He's staying in a hotel, having wonderful meals, hired with a cohort of 10 other new engineers. They're all getting to learn each other, they have now professional colleagues before they even set foot into the places where they're going to work. For the first 2 years, he's on kind of a graduated schedule where he's got lots of mentoring, lots of support, and fewer responsibilities. Whereas when my students get jobs, usually it's because there's no one in that job and they're thrown into the fire. and they're looking for a curriculum, they're looking for whatever, and they're maybe pointed to a dusty binder on top of a shelf somewhere, and everyone else is looking at them like, my hands are full, I don't know what to do. So instructional coaches, I think a lot of people that aren't in education see this as some kind of newfangled thing that we don't need, and it's a luxury, and why are we spending all this money? And what it is what business knows is that you have to spend money to make money. And in schools, what we've done is we've just refused to spend money to help things work better in schools, to help teachers learn, to help kids learn. We kind of just do it as in the cheapest and easiest way possible. I think that there are lots of reasons, and you've kind of pointed them out, Heather, why people are not staying in the classroom. But one of them is that a lot of teachers don't see a path for advancement as a teacher. So too many of them do really dumb things like go into higher education, right? Get other degrees and teach in a college. Or another dumb thing that I did early in my career, become an administrator, right? They get out of the classroom. Dr. Pritchett did the same thing. So how do we keep good teachers in the classroom, like doing what you two are doing? We need career ladders. We used to have this 20, 30 years ago. There were teachers on special assignment, instructional coaches. That kind of went away for a few decades. It's kind of stumbling back in a little bit, which is nice to see, but we need more of that. There's been an elimination, in my view, of what I think of as kind of middle management in education. 30 or 40 years ago, every school district had curriculum supervisors in every subject area, not just math and science, not just reading and not just in the tested subjects. There was a music supervisor, an art supervisor, a phys ed supervisor in every school district. This year in Michigan, there are 7 music supervisors in the state. How many districts? 800 and?
With charter 800, with 500 approximately.
I mean, you can do the math. We've gutted that entire level of teachers providing supervision and guidance for other teachers. And we've kind of distilled it down to only the 30%, 20% of the tested curriculum maybe get those positions. Or we combine them all together. We have a supervisor for music, art, phys ed, driver ed, cafeteria services, and basket weaving or whatever we do. I think we need to have more opportunities for teachers to have some kind of administrative and management and leadership experience. And then the whole induction and mentoring thing, my first research area, the first book that I wrote was about induction and mentoring. And I'm glad to see that you're seeing some of this in your school district. For me, as someone that did a lot of induction and mentoring when I first got into higher ed, that whole thing has pretty much dried up. There's not much funding for it. School districts don't offer release time for teachers to go out and visit other teachers. That's probably the best way that we can mentor new teachers, is to let them see how other teachers are doing their job. So I think we need, we talk a lot at this table about spending money and what budgets are. We've gutted a lot of education budgets, and now I think what we need to do is look at ways to spend money in really impactful ways, and starting with how do we help good teachers stay in the classroom, attract other good teachers into the classroom, and keep them in the classroom. I'm not against people getting their doctorates. I'm not against people becoming superintendents. But I do want to see more teachers stay in the classroom, because especially in schools where there's been a ton of teacher turnover. And what we know from the research is that kids in disadvantaged areas, kids in poverty, suffer disproportionately when teachers turn over, and that's where teachers do turn over.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one remark I want to, one thing that I want to add, Dr. Robinson, is that you had said that as schools we tend to do things in the cheapest way possible. And I would modify that a little bit to say we tend to do things in the perceived cheapest way possible. We're doing things to save money in that moment. And one thing that businesses do understand is that when you lose talent, you fail to retain talent, you're spending much more resources to develop new talent rather than retain good people into those positions that wanted to be successful that were just unsupported.
Dr. Pritchett?
Thank you. Everything Mitch said. And I taught at the secondary level, so and this is not to put up a divide because we need instructional coaches across the board. But many times, especially in the big high schools, new teachers just plain got lost. And they'd find their room wherever that might be assigned. For me, my first big high school, it was actually down in the auto wing, and I was a social studies teacher. And you could have stayed, I could have stayed down there 8 hours a day. So that, kudos to you for looking at the secondary level. And again, I'm not saying it's not needed at the elementary level, but I think sometimes we think about elementary teachers and all of the responsibilities they have. Oh, those secondary folks are all content people, so they'll be fine. And that's not the case. So thank you very much for what you're doing, because I think it's very much needed.
And kudos to Shepherd Schools for seeing the value at the secondary level and investing in people like Heather to make sure they get that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. The work you do, the passion, and congratulations too, and for making an example and going out in the district. I know we're going to be unveiling the student first time we got the picture, but I need to get you one. So if you bring it with you, maybe you want to take it with you when
Absolutely.
you go.
I'll take it everywhere I go.
Yeah. So, all right. We do have a little. Yeah, we have a little extra time, so let's give them a big round of applause too, by the way. Since we had a little extra time, I was going to just move us to the approval of the minutes. Last time we were running a little late, so this time we're ahead. Dr. Pritt?
So moved.
So moved. Support, Dr. Robinson. Any discussion? Hearing, go ahead, Dr. Pugh.
Tom may not have known that we were voting.
Yeah.
So I don't want to.
Okay, yeah, we can pause then.
He's right here.
Oh, okay, well, he's here, okay. We decided to go to we have extra time.
We're called for the vote for the minutes.
Any discussion? We had Dr. Pritchett and a support. Anyone?
I just
Oh, go
asked
ahead,
regularly, both legislative committee, agenda committee, and everything is recorded.
Yeah.
Not agenda.
Not agenda, but legislative, okay.
That's correct.
Okay, no further discussion. Ms. Evans?
Lipton?
Yes.
McMillan?
Yes.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Pugh? Robinson?
Yes.
Snyder?
Yes.
And Tilly?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next we have the legislative committee minutes. Dr. Pritchett?
So move.
Okay, support Dr. Robinson. Any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Evans?
Lipton?
Yes.
McMillan?
Yes.
Pritchett?
Yes.
Pugh?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Snyder? And Tilly?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to adjourn until 1 o'clock. What I would ask the board members, I know we got that because of the new sign, if we could do the same thing, because we have the new official sign like we did last month over here on the side, and I'd love to get that developed eventually and have it hanging somewhere here. So if we could just take a couple minutes like we did last time, and we'll re-adjourn at 1 p.m. for public comment. Thank you. We're under recess.
No, my dad's.
Is there anything you need? Okay.
Oh, no.
So we might, I guess we can shoot it, or we might want to reshoot it.
Yeah, maybe we'll do it next month then.
Yeah, if you want us to shoot it now, we can still do it.
Yeah, maybe we'll wait since.
Yeah,
Let's wait. We're gonna wait because he had an emergency, so we'll do it next month then.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
What are we waiting on, sorry?
He had to leave. I don't think they're gonna shoot it, so we're gonna get the photo with him.
Oh,
We'll wait till next month to do it.
Okay.
We wanna make sure he's.